Hey guys, how you guys doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to watch this video that I've decided to make for you. Today we're going to talk about sudo, short for super user do. It's a powerful command in the Linux operating system that allows users to execute commands with elevated privileges. By utilizing sudo, users can temporarily escalate their privileges and perform administrative tasks without having to log into a root user in the terminal permanently. This will help you to take better control of your system and do better things more responsibly and well in your operating system. Hey guys, before we start today's video though, I'd like to take a minute to ask you guys to maybe hit that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button and the notification button. If you haven't yet subscribed or hit those buttons, make sure you do so. Also, try considering joining the channel. It only helps me. Or if you can't or don't want to do it, support the channel through the YouTube channel. You can actually go over to Buy Me a Coffee and buy me a coffee over there, and that helps out a lot as well. All right, so what is sudo? Well, sudo is kind of like a superhero of the Linux command line. That's right. You can temporarily use it. In the simplest of terms, it stands for sudo user or super user do. Okay. It allows you to execute commands with root privileges and elevated privileges, also termed as, instead of having to log completely out of your terminal session that you're in or log in with the terminal, as a user and log back into root. You could either log completely out and log in as root, or you could just open up a terminal and type in sudo, and it lets you do what you need to do. It's an all-powerful root user command. You can just prefix your command with sudo, and it'll execute what you can do. Can I use sudo in any Linux distribution? Well, the funny thing is what prompted me to make this video is if you join us over in our Discord, which link will be somewhere. It's in the description. Anyhow, on my Discord the other day, I have a developer that came in. They develop a distribution that is. We'll talk about this incident as well in the podcast this Saturday coming or Sunday coming up at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Just also as a thing, we have switched our podcast time from Saturday to Sunday at 5 p.m. Either way, this developer came into the distribution or into the Discord, and it was found when I was doing a live stream install of his distribution. D-Dubs, one of our subscribers and one of our channel friends, they discovered that the sudoers privileges have been completely unlocked and open, which is not a very safe practice. It's not a wrong practice. The developer certainly has the right to do that, but it's not a standard practice. And and that's what he said. We're not the standard people. But that is one of those security things that is just important that you maintain and you don't do. So really, he's unlocked it, so there is no sudo privileges. He says you can enable it if you want to, but ideally most distributions enable it for a reason, because if you don't have sudo enabled, then any user can perform any task at any time on that machine and do whatever they want. So it's a very huge security vulnerability. It also gives applications that you're installing the ability to change system core files at any time they want, unfettered. So yeah, it's not a safe practice. So can I use sudo on any Linux distribution? The fact of the matter is 99.9%. There is that few that don't. Do have sudo widely supported as a command and be used on almost all Linux distributions. So it's a standard and comes in pre-installed in almost every distribution. So it is recommended to check the availability of sudo in your specific distribution and version. It is definitely something that you should definitely be doing. Is it possible to customize sudo access for different users? Absolutely. That's what you do. There are commands. For the sake of the video, maybe I'll make a separate video explaining this, but for the sake of the video, You can add when you're installing a user into like the Calamares. You want to add a user, even the Arch Linux, add a user. It asks you, do you want to add them to the sudoers group? And what that does is that gives them elevated privileges. If you do not, then they can't do anything except use it basically as a read-only system. So if you have children, you don't want to give them sudoers. They can only do read-only. So they'll have to type in a password in order to, I have to log in as you to install the application for them, and then they can run that application from there on out. But to do the actual install, that'll have to be you in a different instance, or you open up a terminal, drop into the root, which I'll show you in a little bit how to do that. Do what you got to do, and then you just go back into that user. So you can modify that in the sudoers file, which is located in the Etsy. It's in the Etsy folder, sudoers. Okay, and you'll have to use a text edit. And of course, you're going to have root privileges to be able to edit that, because the Etsy folder is one of those system core file folders. You can define specific commands that each user or group can execute in this file. So you can tell them if they can control like ROM, audio, video, everything. You could basically lock them down to having no privileges whatsoever, or only certain ones. So you can specify if hosts that they can run commands on, and even set time restrictions for them to be able to specify their password policy for sudo access as well. I mean, you can do, there's all kinds of stuff that you can do that you could, really finitely control what they can do. Now, how did sudo come around? Sudo didn't actually just magically appear. It had an interesting backstory. Back in the ancient times of the Unix, when the Unix was all around, users had to log in as the mighty root to do anything important, but that was like giving a lightsaber to a clumsy Ewok. Accidents were bound to happen, and they did. Lots of them did in the program world. So in the early 1980s, a young guy by the name of Bob Cogshall came up with the idea of sudo as a way to grant specific privileges to users without handing them the keys in the kingdom, and thus sudo was born. So they coded sudo, they implemented sudo, and it's never been looked at. Now there are other commands you can run. One is doas, DOAS, and then there is su. I'm gonna show you su. Doas is not as popular, but it's still out there. And su is obviously one that naturally comes from the beginning. So understanding the concept of the privileges, is one thing that you got to understand. One of the beauties of Linux is that not all users are created equal. Some have the power to make things happen, while others just can't, because they don't need to have those powers. User privileges determine who can do what. That is the important part to understand. Absolutely important. It is security centric to understand that. Look at sudo as having a VIP pass to a backstage concert in real. I mean, that comes from my music world. I mean, without that pass, you can't get anywhere, and it requires you to do that. So one has to ask, what exactly do I need these privileges? Do I need privileges for everything that I'm doing? And no, that is why whenever you are actually running things on your program and doing things on your program, in either program or whatever, like if you open an edit, want to edit a text file that you created in LibreOffice or whatever, and you saved it to your um, documents folder, wherever it is you put it, right? You're not going to need elevated privileges for that, because it's not security centric. It's really, sudo is basically, it's a first line of defense in security from within your system to keep your system protected from you in making a mistake. That's why if it's going to write a privilege, file or code or script or whatever, it's got to have that special privilege access. So why would you need to escalate the privileges? I said, if you need to escalate the privileges, it's going to be because it's going to need to do something in the background that could actually be, if not done correctly, catastrophic failure to your system and create you to lose your system. So if you need to install that, something that's going to modify critical system files, or it's going to wreak havoc if you don't do it with the sudo, or if it does it badly, it'll wreak havoc. So that's what you want to do. And also, if you got a stubborn bug, right, you're going to need to use sudo in order to be able to actually edit whatever code that is through whatever text editor. code, yeah, dim, or whatever, So I mean, if you can do that on a fly by just using sudo vim and then the location to the file, it's so much easier than having to just log in and out, man. And so that's why sudo is important. But understand, and not emphasize, it's a huge security vulnerability to not have that enabled because it allows access to different. What are the benefits of sudo? The enhanced security and control, which is what I'm talking about. One of the key benefits of using sudo is increased security by giving users only privileges that they need. You minimize the risk of accidental or intentional damage. It's like a bouncer at the entrance of your system. Really, it's true. With sudo, you can keep track of who did what, so you can play detective when something does go wrong. It'll be written in your journal. You know what I mean? And then there is the granular access control. With sudo, you can master any user has on your system. You can specify exactly which users have what privileges and groups they have power to specific in. That video, audio, all that kind of stuff. You can either access it, not access it, do whatever. So, and it's like having, it's like giving them special badges that can allow them to open whatever they want. Granular control allows you to secure your Linux operating system. It keeps it safe. That's why instance of the software developer's distribution, I didn't mean to offend the guy. I didn't mean to upset the man. I got upset in our conversation. But the fact of the reality is, I was trying to stress this exact point that it's very dangerous to allow operating systems to not have this kind of security and unfettered access to its system files. Any application in this man's distribution install can create damage without you knowing. I mean, you can just accidentally install something accident without being checked, saying, "Hey, are you sure?" But just do it. Next thing you know, you've got a board system. Or you could just edit whatever file you want on there without knowing it's something that you're doing. You could have mistyped something in the command line or whatever on accident and didn't realize you were in this file until after you done saved it and quit it. And now you do a reboot and you're gone. You know what I mean? That's just, it's unleashing chaos to not have sudo in there. I cannot stress this. So, Alex, where is the sudoers file? Because that's where you can check to find out if you have sudo privileges. Well, that's going to be in your Etsy dash forward slash sudoers in its configuration down in the Etsy. That's where it's at. It varies in different. It's a sim link there, but it also varies in different applications or different places. So, what your best bet to do is to Google where is my sudoers file distribution. So, like in Nix OS, it's actually in the configuration. So, and actually Nix, that's something you do. Also, you're going to want to learn the syntax to the and rules that are in the well. So it's going to take some time. This isn't something you should be doing ad nauseum. In fact, you can only edit it if, in fact, you actually have sudo privileges or root privileges. So if you don't have sudo privileges, then you're going to know that root path. And a lot of people sometimes make that root password the same as their, sudoers password, but sometimes they make it differently. So either way, in any way, shape, or form, there you go. As far as like where the sudoers file is, and it can be edited, but you can also add users to the sudo file through command lines in terminal. If you'd like me to make a video on that, go ahead and leave a comment down below, and I'll do that as well for you. So, sudoers file is where all that magic happens. It makes things happen. So just know that when you're in there and you edit that you're playing with a little bit of fire there, and that you need to be pretty much so knowing exactly who it is that you want to give privileges to and what you're going to want. There's a standard set of groups that you want to do. It's called the wheel group, and it's one that allows people to have what you call elevated privileges for certain things like video, CD-ROM stuff. Because you can actually literally spec device whether that user has access to that device on your computer or not. From hard drives, CD-ROMs, cameras, to whatever, it's on there. So just be sure to make any typos when you're editing that file, that you make sure you don't have any of the smallest mistakes. It can turn your Linux machine into a pumpkin. It'll lock you out if you make a mistake to anybody's file when you're editing that file. So best practices for using sudo effectively: assigning appropriate privileges. When it comes to using sudo, it's important to assign the right privileges to the right people. You don't want to give anybody just any unfettered access. Can't stress that enough. I keep saying it over and over again, but it's because it's that freaking important. It really is. People just they underestimate the importance of security and root privileges on their computer. They think it's an annoyance when it's really not. And that's the sad part, because they don't realize how much protective it is, how much protection it is for your computer. So, and don't use a stupid password like I mean, if you really need a password, a really strong and complicated password, go hit up DT's Patreon, send him a message, say, hey, DT, can you send me a strong and secure password? And let him know that the Linux team told you to do that. He'll be happy to hear. So when you do your passwords, get creative. Don't do stupid passwords. Now, alternatives to Linux, and this is what I wanted to show you. If you are going to use sudo, then you can use it the standard way of sudo and then the command. But then there's the su command. So let's go ahead and pop over into the actual desktop here, and I'll show you how to do that. All right, so here we are. We are at our desktop. And so let me go ahead and make this bigger. Okay, so now you can clearly see it. So right now, as you can see by the prompt right here, I'm in my regular user. So I have to use sudo in order to do that. Now, I'll give you an example. So like here, you see I have Vim right here, where it's Vim, etc, my NixOS configuration. If I hit enter, now I'm in my configuration, but I cannot do anything because this is a core system file that I do not have access to unless I have privileges, elevated privileges. So I can't do anything to this, right? I could type into it, but the minute that I hit see, it's locked. I can't do anything with it, right? If I go to quit out of it, and then I sudo back into it, none of those changes took. See? None of those changes took. Another way of noting is you see you see how things are bright and some other things are grayed out. Well, you'll see when you actually have permission to access that file, which I'll show you in just a second, right? You're going to see that that's a much different look. So if I type that and then I type sudo in front of it, oh, not sudo I give my password, and that's how you're going to know if your user actually has root privileges. You're going to see that password prompt. That's how you're going to know. So now if you see everything is actually unhighlighted or it's all lit up. There's nothing that's grayed out. So now you actually are in the ability to edit this file to its truest form. That is the power of sudo. Now, we're not going to do anything in this but quit. Get out of it, and now we're good. Okay, so that is the beauty of sudo. That is the importance of sudo. That's just a demonstration of it. Now let's switch to su terminal. All you do is you type in su. It's going to ask you for the root password, which is the administrative password. So it for me, it's different than my regular one, and now I'm logged in as root. Some people make it their same password to log in for login account, their user that actually has root privileges, but ideally you should set two different ones. Either way, now you could tell from the prompt that I'm logged in as root. The user is right here as root. Okay, and then also this prompt right here, this pound prompt tells you that you are. So now I could run any command on there. This is where you could actually go in and do certain commands that requires sudo. Now, if you want to log back into your into your user account, all you type is su and then said user, and now I'm back into my non-root account. So that's how you could use su on standard distributions. That is how you log into it. That is how you do whatever it is that you need to do, and then you can get back into whatever that standard user format that you need to implement in order to do that. So in conclusion, sudo is as indispensable tool for managing users privileges and security on Linux by allowing users to execute only the things that they need to do. It also lets you perform robust administrative tasks, like editing code, that kind of stuff, in order to do that. By following the best practices, such as assigning appropriate privileges and regularly reviewing the sudo access. In other words, if you're in a multiple user environment, such as maybe a business or something like that, you want to make sure that people are not being changed ad nauseum, or it hasn't changed other things other than what you wanted. So it's always important to go ahead and review that you haven't done that. Also, even in the home case environment, like my kids one time, they actually they they figured out a way to go around, or I don't know if they figured my password or what, and started giving themselves privileges to be able to do things on my computer. I said, no, 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 no. So I had to, I didn't find out till one time I saw something was installed on my computer. I'm like, how did that happen? And I went and checked, and sure as pie, they had sudo privileges. So be careful that that doesn't happen as well. While sudo may have its alternatives, it is widespread adopted and continuously development, and is a reliable source choice for Linux users. So just make sure you have sudo enabled on your computer. If you don't, then I would really consider not using it, unless it's, that the user can't do anything and you have to log into as root, because there are some distributions out there that do that. They actually will let your user be set up that they don't have any root privileges. In order to actually in and make any actual changes to the computer, you have to log out and log in as root, or use this su command, where you log in through terminal through command line as that. You log out and log back in as root, then you'll have all your graphical stuff. So embrace that power. Make sure that it's protected on your machine. So in that's really all I got for you guys. If you guys got any questions or concerns, also if you guys want me to make a video, I think I did a long time ago. I can't remember. I think I might have, to be honest with you. But you know, if you want, man, me to make another video on how to add users or how to edit the sudoers text, leave a comment down below. So please don't forget to go over to Buy Me a Coffee or join us here on the channel. It helps out, as much as you can. Now, before we go, man, I just got to simply say, y'all keep doing what you do. Keep on links and stay safe, stay blessed. See you on the next one. And before we go, we got to thank some people. Here we go.